Welcome to Fridays with Anne. This is a series of conversations with Belgian homeopath Anne Vervarcke about homeopathy. I will ask her curiously whatever confuses me in homeopathy, like case taking, case analysis, or theory in general, and Anne will answer according to her insights, experience, and most recent findings. You, the viewer, are invited to participate actively, so please feel free to send in comments and questions. And now today's episode of Fridays with Anne. Hello and welcome to this episode of Fridays with Anne. Hi Anne.
Hello Jost.
It's good to see you again. So for this Friday, I would like to do one of the sessions that we had planned on groups or families. And for today, I would like to speak with you about the group of fungi.
Yeah, good. Good idea.
Yes. Can you, first of all, it would be interesting, since normally now we go in the case analysis, we go from dimension to kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you place the fungi there?
Normally speaking, it should be easy. It should be easy, but it isn't, because there's a discussion going on whether the fungi are plants or rather insect-like. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And the reason is they have plant-like characteristics, but botanically they're very different from plants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't have roots, they don't have leaves, they don't have flowers, they have seeds, they have spores, they don't have chlorophyll, and they have no gender, or they have like no fixed gender, so their way of reproduction is different. And the chitin, that is the product they're made of, is like the exoskeleton of insects. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah, they're more insect-like. You know, this is main constituent. But it's hard to think of fungi, of mushrooms as animals. They're clearly not animals. They're not
very far-fetched. Yeah.
Yes. So it's only the chitin, really. There's the chitin, and there's plants who are not plant-like. So the assumption is then that it's best to put them in a separate kingdom altogether. So, and I think that's what is the common idea now. So if we say third dimension, because it's third dimension, if we hesitate between plant and animal, we're still on the third dimension. So that's not a problem. So for sure. Yes. And then we could say it's plants, animals, and fungi. So from a botanical point of view, I think then you would be safe.
So you would assign the same aspects to fungi as being animated, lively, reactive, engaging as a person.
Yes, plant-like, as you say, or third dimension-like, but more plant-like than animal-like. I don't see any animal features in a mushroom.
Right.
There's no comparison. There's no inferior, superior complex. There's no domination. All this. There's no desire to kill or fear to be killed. There might be in a delirium.
Yeah.
We have a lot of mushrooms with deliriums, and there might be, this death experience and fear of death, but it's not by somebody else. It's not by an aggressor. It's not somebody chasing you and wanting to eat you. I mean, the death experience is not limited to animals. The animals is not death; it's being killed. That's altogether. Yeah. So in my mushroom patients, I just don't see this. So to me, they present as plants.
Okay. To you, they present as plants.
Yeah.
Well, now that we speak about this homeopathic side, before So what if they present as plants?
Mhm.
How can we know that it's not a plant? We are already in third dimension, and it seems like a plant.
It seems like a plant. Exactly. Then we need the group characteristics. And we talked about this last time. And again, when I was going through the book of Frans Vermeulen, who did a monumental work on fungi,
Yeah.
and also in size, I mean, it's 800 pages. And he gathered all the information that was out there,
Uh-huh.
only to conclude that we have from the estimated 200,000 species, only 80,000 listed so far. Most of them are
Darn.
only microscopic molds and yeasts that we don't even know they exist, you know. And there are only 27. Actually, there are 70 something actually mentioned in the repertories, of which like 27 are having symptoms. All the others have just names. So there's no chance, or hardly a chance, that you ever get a mushroom in your repertorization, because even the ones who are listed in your repertory, the majority has less than 20 symptoms. So the funny thing is that while there's so many, we have so many species, we have so little information.
Yeah.
And the answer doesn't seem to be getting more information about all the species, because we will get lost in, again, too much information. So I try to boil it down to this, the simplest words and ideas that I can think of, looking back on the patient I treated successfully with fungi. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yes. And basically, we have like a model remedy for particular symptoms, or some remedies that, until we know more, play the role of a model, like sepia for sea creatures, for instance.
Yes.
Lacatis for all snakes. Well, we have agaricus for fungi. So,
right. So that would also mean, as soon with these few symptoms in the repertory, as soon as we get a fungi in our repertorization, it should be a strong indicator that this is an indicated group, at least.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah, you have the point very clear. Exactly. When you have the well-known representative of the kingdom, it's not necessarily the representative you need, but the kingdom. Exactly. It's a pointer to the whole kingdom. Yeah, because the others are just not, almost not, or very little represented, with only a few rubrics. So there's very little chance that you will ever come up with it.
Yeah.
There are a few more provings now, but not all provings are already, in all the repertories. So because Frans Vermeulen's book is from 2006, so there's 10 years since he wrote it, and some provings have been done. But not many fungi, but a few. Like Cryptococcus is added, and it's not so much in his book yet. But not many. Again, they're not very attractive to homeopaths, I think, to prove them. It's a little bit like we said, the rocks and the stones, they don't appeal very much, while the fungi don't seem to appeal very much either. Although they're everywhere, of course.
And they're so important to life.
They're so important, and their role is in our food, in our medication. Plants build up. They make
exactly.
They make.
Without fungi, there wouldn't be plants anymore, right? Or almost, huh?
What they do is they help plants to build up from I say nutrition from the soil and from sunlight, and the other side of it is they break it down again. Plants die, or when there's animals, they break down to usual constituents for life again. So they're everywhere. And in every process in life, building up, breaking down, they're necessary, and they're just disregarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not rare in patients either. It's just, again, they're much overlooked, I think.
Yeah. So
we have a huge group,
Yes.
and you see it as, or as biology looks at it now as well, as a separate kingdom. So
Yes.
now, what would be characteristics, and we can say what would be kingdom characteristics, because it's not really group family characteristics.
Well, as far as I see, as I said, for me they're like plant-like. So third dimension plant-like, and then
Yes.
there must be differences, of course. So there are differences. And maybe it's not bad to say that they look a little bit like carbon plants. So that's
Okay.
like a carbon and a plant. Of course, we don't
Right.
have carbon plants, and we can talk about the carbon groups in another Friday if you want. So the carbon characteristics make a whole group of this. You have carbon itself, but you have then the organic chemistry, and then again, you don't want to hear this. There's another 2 million products. This is
More remedies, please. Yeah.
Organic chemistry, of which Roger Morrison listed 250, and he also explains very well the group characteristics of the whole carbon groups in all their subgroups and all these subgroups. So you can say that it's a plant with some carbon characteristics, mainly in its confusion. It has this confusion that you see with carbon as well, that they have like a hard time to express them. They can't find the words, and they say so. I have difficulty to express, or they have a slow speech, or like a bit of a strange speech in the manic phase of the mushrooms. They have like extraordinary speech, but I don't see many manic patients.
Manic carbon patients.
Yes, then just not coming, or many manic fungi patients. Most of them are not in this delirious state.
Yeah.
You know, the delirium.
Yeah, probably they wouldn't seek help then if they were so.
Yes, and on top of that, you know, most of these delirium states that are described are poisoning symptoms.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So they took the raw material, and then they got, you know, out of their minds. You know, the poisoning of mushrooms is kind of impressive if you read the reports.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of our symptoms. And my patients don't seem to display them, not in that overt way. They have this in a much more subtle way. So they're not either talking in an exuberant way, or stammering very heavily. Mostly they have some kind of difficulty with expressing. And you get the idea of confusion, like the mental activity is not working very quickly.
Sluggish.
It's a kind of sluggishness and confusion as well. But it's combined. It's combined with. You want to ask it something?
Yeah. So do you also see the confusion then only in their way of expressing, or do you also see it that in life they don't really know who they are, what to do, or?
No, it's not an alumina confusion. It's a very good question. Although Frans Vermeulen compares in his book the alumina confusion with the mushroom confusion. Alumina confusion is, who am I anyway?
Yeah.
Is this my idea? Is this your idea? It's confusion about identity. Do I want this, or is it under pressure of my environment? Yeah. Or in company, they lose their feeling of identity. I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
That's the alumina confusion. But it's more a difficulty, as you pointed out very well, in speech, in expressing.
Okay. Yeah. So it's so to say more a physical mental thing that they have a difficulty in expressing, then it's to do with their or ego forming. So to say.
Exactly. Yes, and it's not because they're let's say they're mentally retarded. They're not.
Yeah.
Although that's also listed in the books. Mentally retarded.
Yeah.
And Harkis is one of the few remedies listed under autism. Because there's also this kind of awkwardness, you could say.
Mhm.
Not only a physical awkwardness that they drop things and all, also that, but also an awkwardness, as I already said, in speech
Mhm.
and in social communication.
Uh-huh.
Like they just don't
In
understand.
social, like behaving in social situations, that they do
Yeah.
things that are inappropriate in a social context.
Yes, they're awkward like.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not easy. It attracts your attention because it's either too much or not enough. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
yeah, over or underdone. In the same way, they can be like overdressed or underdressed.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Situation. I recall once, and it was difficult to elicit symptoms from this girl. A little girl, I think she was 8 or something, and obviously she came with her mother. And
Yeah.
the main problem was that she had sweaty hands, but not just a little bit sweaty. They were soaking wet.
Uh-huh.
Soaking wet. She gave me a hand, and it was wet. And
Wow.
yeah, of course, it's a problem in the class. Nobody would
Yeah.
give her a hand. Everybody would say, "Oh, it's dirty." Everything she touched was wet. If she touches a piece of paper or her
A
book,
pen. Uh-huh. Yeah.
everything was wet. It was undoable. She went to doctors, not to no avail. And and the remedy I was having for her was cryptococcus.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult to make a mushroom out of what the mother said because she was lively and she was nice and she was a no problem girl whatsoever. But what everybody could see is like she was overdressed. She was dressed almost like a woman.
Uh-huh.
She was
Yeah. At 8 years old.
8
Okay.
years old. And the hair was done like a woman for a photo shoot. Yeah, and there was
Okay.
one remark of the mother. Yes, she likes. She likes me
She
to do her
likes
hair.
that. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
likes.
Okay.
She
It's not
likes.
the mother. Yeah. Uh-huh.
She likes me to do her hair. She likes to be beautiful, but it wasn't beautiful. It was adult, very feminine for a girl that was in in no way ready for that.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that is also a cryptococcus symptom. Strange
Uh-huh.
enough. So, but you can like generalize it to more or less to the concept of awkwardness. They don't really know what is right in the context, in the situation, for the age, in this
Mm-hmm.
setting and all that. This
Mm-hmm.
particular awkwardness,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have this childish-like behavior, but not childish in the mineral way, like the carbon way, that they are dependent. That's
Yeah.
childishness of I can't um, live on my own. I'm
Yeah.
dependent on somebody else for all my basic needs.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
It's a foolishness,
Uh-huh.
that kind of childishness.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like behaving a bit foolish for the age.
A bit ridiculous.
A bit ridiculous, like a grown-up woman, a therapist that I recall, used to go and take her blanket she had as a baby whenever she didn't feel well. Probably as a therapist, she thought this was, you know, you could legitimate this. You know, you have
Yeah.
your inner child, and you go back to your childhood blanket. But you know, who does this? You're
Yeah. Yeah.
a 35-year-old woman, and whenever she feels a little bit sad, she crawls in bed with her child with a baby blanket. That's that kind of foolishness, or also laughing at the moment that is a bit immoderate, like it's not the moment, or making jokes,
Uh-huh.
not the time and the place, or also what they sometimes do, especially children, like revealing secrets.
Uh-huh.
There's something that spoil the pleasure of the others, or embarrass
Uh-huh. Yeah.
others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is embarrassing others.
Yeah, or spoil the pleasure even. I
Uh-huh.
recall also a boy that in the classroom, he was 5 years old. In the classroom, the teacher would have like in the middle, all the children would be in a circle, and in the middle was a basket, I think, with apples or pears or nuts, I don't know, something from the season that was covered. And she asked the children, "What do you think is in it?" And this guy just ran into the middle and just took off the cloth. And well, then
Yeah. Well.
the lesson was over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like spoiling the pleasure. Not, it's a joke, but it's not a good joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. I
it's
see.
foolish. It's foolish, not funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. But they don't have a malicious intention.
Oh no, it's not malicious.
Yeah.
No, they think it's funny, but
Yeah, exactly. I see now. Yeah.
it's not humorous.
Yeah.
It's that's why I say foolish.
Mhm.
In our books it says place antics.
Yes.
That's known for aharicus. So
Yeah.
they behave in a sometimes attention seeking, foolish way.
Ah, that's what it means. And plays antics. Okay.
Antics, yeah.
Funny rubric name. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there is confusion. There is awkwardness and foolishness.
Yeah. And what do I have again? Oh yeah. And the one thing I would like to see or hear with somebody who's able to express himself is
Mhm.
they have the feeling, and that's their sensation. That's again the key word is invasion.
Right.
Invasion. Like if I had to choose one keyword for this particular group, then it would be invasion.
That's also what Shankaran had
Yes.
named as a word,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other words, but actually invasion is the exact word.
Mhm.
Are afraid to be invaded, and they feel it like a penetration, or they try to protect themselves from it because it's in their mind.
Right.
The people's mind to invade their states, but it's in theirs. So they're
Yeah.
protective for their own space and boundaries and all that, and they feel very quickly that their boundaries are how to say, overtaken and invaded. For instance, these physical examinations,
Uh-huh.
and most of them they put all kind of things in your body.
Yeah.
If you go to the gynecologist,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of an invasive procedure.
Even examination. Yeah.
Just simple examination is kind of invasive, like
Yeah.
it's penetration, like.
Yeah.
And yeah, most of women bear it, but some wouldn't
Yeah.
because they feel they can have it. It's like being raped. It's like invaded. They just can't bear it.
Yeah.
So part of them might be rational and say, yeah, I have to be that
Yeah.
every now and then. But the other part of them feels it's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's the same with putting tubes in your mouth for a gastroscopy or anything that they put in your body, or a needle, or whatever procedure that sticks something in your body is
Yeah.
felt as an invasion. Not many people particularly like it, but
No. I'd say no one really. Well, most people really don't like it. Yeah.
don't like it. But for them, it's unbearable. It's the worst.
And does this also extend to say psychological type of invasion, as in invasive questioning or wanting to find out about the person?
Could be, especially if they use the word. It's like an invasion. While you think, well, it's a simple questionnaire.
Yeah.
Or they can use the word intrude,
Yes.
something like this. So
Or yeah.
even if you feel your patient is reluctant to answer to your questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or if I could also imagine that or if kids are being invaded in their privacy or in their space, so to say, if someone is coming too close or entering the room without them asking or something like this.
Yeah, I don't know if they would react like that, but for instance, there was once a patient that was brought by his parents, also a boy, and he got a Garicus as well, and later another fungi. And of course, the consultation takes a long time, and the parents were talking a lot because he didn't want to talk. Everything I asked him, he answered with a silly question, with a silly answer. So he answered my questions, but it was always silly. Like I would say, what do you like to play best? And he would say chocolate, something like that. It was not a complete lie. He likes chocolate, but that was not my question.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after a while, he got bored and he asked to go to the toilet. And the toilet was near in the hallway, and then the nearby door. And then he was away for a long time, and his mother said, I better look for him because he's probably somewhere else in the house. And I said, he's not supposed to. And she said, yeah, but he's so curious. And that's the same thing in school. He goes always in every class. He knows his own class, but he always runs around in the whole school building, and he opens the doors and comes in all classes. He's very curious. And I thought, well, that is not curious.
Yeah.
Every boy 5 years old, every child 5 years old knows it's not done.
Yeah.
And all the other children don't do this.
Yeah.
And it's maybe the first child, or maybe one of the only children ever walked around in my house, and they had to fetch him on the second floor.
Yeah.
It is curiosity, but it's also invasive.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be there. He's the invader.
Yeah, right.
And he knows. By that age, you know. Since all the other children know. They just don't do it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So invasion would be the kingdom word, so to say.
Yes, that's a very deep word, like the vital sensation. But as always, some people are able to say directly, and others will use, and especially plant-like, will use images, stories, occurrences like this and this happened, and oh, I was so upset. And then you have to understand they experienced it like an invasion.
Yeah.
I told you, the little boy in my house, you can call it curiosity, but it was not curiosity. It was really invasion. It is not done. Was. Yeah, stepping over boundaries.
Trespassing, yeah.
Trespassing boundaries, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Right. Okay. So, would you name other characteristics for fungi?
I think that's the most important that I wrote down. You see, the thing is, there's so many, but most of them, as I told you, are in this delirious stage. So there's activity, there's laughter, there's this bravery, there's no fear of danger, doing dangerous things. The stories we know that the Vikings used to eat mushrooms to be brave and do terrible things, and this idea of strength, that they have an enormous strength, and that they have a stamina, and how to say, they have this changeability of euphoria and then sinking into deep depression. All these characteristics belong to the fungi, but first, I don't see them in my patients. Secondly, I think they're poison symptoms.
Right.
Third, there's a particular subgroup of fungi.
Fungi, yeah.
You might see them, and these are the drug-like.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, that's probably where drugs and fungi intersect.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of fungi are drugs, or drugs are made of fungi or used.
Hallucinogenic features, yeah.
So these magic mushrooms, they have specific group features that all drug remedies have, not only mushrooms. So then there's a combination of those two.
Now, now that you have been speaking about the similarity to plants, I would like to know, how can I know then, or are there similar, better said, are there similar plant groups that you could easily confuse fungi with?
No. I don't think so. Maybe, but then it's not because the group has these characteristics, but because we know the remedy, Iociamis, having some of these characteristics. They are overstressed. Like Iociamis has this foolish behavior and talking a lot and attention seeking and all that. But they don't have the confusion, by the way, and they not necessarily have the awkwardness, and they don't have the intrusion at all. But the foolish behavior or the difficult speech, because it has stammering, as I remember well.
Yeah.
So you might think of the nightshades, but there's a big difference, because the ego formation, the idea of this is me, is like the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
The nightshades have a kind of a good idea of this is me. While mushrooms, you don't know where their head is, basically.
Yeah. So in terms of evolutionary development, it would be also a rather early stage.
Yes, it's like they haven't developed yet from a very childish stage in life. Although they can be intelligent, again, and functioning, okay, it's mainly in their way of experiencing themselves and life. And you will only hear it in your consultation room. It won't necessarily show in the daily life. Basically, in their inner core, it's like they're still in a very, very, very early stage.
Okay, so it would be interesting to do another session on drug remedies. Yeah, that's for another time. So to sum up, we put fungi, that's the name, we put fungi in the third dimension as their own kingdom with their main characteristics, carbon-like confusion, awkwardness and childishness, and as a major keyword, confusion. Invasion.
Invasion, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And the presentation is plant-like rather than animal-like.
Yes, you won't find animal features.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about this competition, aggression, or anything.
Well, aggression can be there, and especially in children, they will display it easier. Why? Because they don't, and that's again part of the childishness. They don't have this inhibition. It's like they have no control. And they're not stopped from doing things. That's also why I say that they're like very, very early in life. They didn't learn yet, but that will stay the rest of their life. They didn't understand yet the social ways of behaving, the things you shouldn't do. So they have no inhibition. And the same applies to their anger. They can display their anger because they have no control. Not because they're malicious, as you said. They're not malicious at all.
I see. Okay, great. So we have lots of material for the next sessions. We will see. Either we can do the one on drugs, but I would also like to come back to the question of how to categorize on which level we treat the patient who's coming to see us. So we will see.
Okay.
It'll be interesting.
You're welcome. You choose.
Thank you very much, Anne, and I look forward to the next one.
Okay, we'll see the next session where it leads us. Bye, Jost.
Be well. Bye.
Bye.